Well, at least they won.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer, and thank you for making us your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And for the first time in this Syracuse basketball season, because of course they played their season opener tonight, we get a post-game reaction show. That's right, Syracuse basketball barely beat a powerhouse program in the Moyne Dolphins on Monday night, 86-82 inside the Dome. We're going to talk about how Chris Bell, his defense, saved the game for Syracuse at the end. We'll talk about the slow start. We'll then talk about Jyare Davis, who was from start to finish, not start to finish, but from the start of the game until like the 38-minute mark of this game, he was Syracuse's best player. And then later on in the podcast, maybe we'll get to it at the end, we'll talk about the significance or lack thereof of this win for Syracuse basketball. Because look, they won the game. You can't take that away from them. But I am conflicted on this. I really am. And we'll get to that later on in the podcast. Before we get to everything that we're going to talk about on this post-game reaction show, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So, it was a win. They won the game, right? And thank goodness for Chris Bell. No, not Chris Bell shooting, right? Heading into this season, we've hyped him up as one of the best shooters in the country. He shot 42% from three last season. That was second best in the ACC, top 20 overall in the country. He's a junior. We only figure he's going to get better. And we'll talk about Chris Bell more in depth as well here. But I never thought I would ever say that it was his defense that ultimately saved this game. The Moyne Dolphins, a school that became Division I last year. This is their second year as Division I. The Moyne Dolphins, who are 2 miles away from the Syracuse campus. Okay, most of the players on that roster grew up in and around the area of Syracuse. Most of them. They are about to potentially pull off a huge upset. Syracuse was a 21-point favorite. They're down 84-82 with 20 seconds left in this game. And they have the ball. It's right there. It's right in front of them. This is like their dream. This is their dream. But Chris Bell said no on defense. He said no on defense. What happened on that play? Well, Chris Bell recognizes that there's a screen at the top of the key. Or really, it was the top of the three-point line. He recognizes it. He reads the play that Moyne is doing. They are doing a handoff play. And Chris Bell basically just inserted himself between the guy who was handing the ball off and the guy for Moyne who was supposed to be receiving the handoff. He takes the ball away. He gets fouled. But the game's not over yet. There's about 6 seconds left in the game. And credit to Chris Bell, because for the first time I felt like all night, somebody on Syracuse decided to go 2 for 2 from the free throw line. My goodness. I mean, free throws for Syracuse were not very good in this one. They were 65% as a team, 20 of 31. Not good. Not good at all. But Chris Bell, when they absolutely had to have it, he stepped up and knocked down 2 free throws. It was the defense and his free throw shooting that saved Syracuse's bacon. And I never thought I would say I never thought I would be Chris Bell's defense. I just never did. So credit to him on that. He was kind of invisible in the first half of this game. He was. he didn't really do all that much. In the first half, I'm looking at it right now. Chris Bell had 4 points. He was 2 of 5 from the field, 0 of 2 from the three-point line. Wasn't doing much. But he got going in the second half, and it wasn't in the way you would think. Chris Bell, it seems like in this game, is showing already improvement. He took a big leap last year from his freshman year, but it was mostly as a shooter. But we saw multiple times in this game him put the ball on the floor and go to the rim. Show some athleticism, show some explosiveness. He got a couple of and ones as well in this one. So what we saw from Chris Bell tonight, and look, was he great on defense for the most part? No, not until the very end of the game. But what we saw from him was a more complete offensive player. And I think we'd all be happy with that. Chris Bell in this game, he finished with 20 points, which led all starters for Syracuse basketball. Did not lead the team. Jyare Davis led the team. We'll get to him on the next segment. 7 of 12 from the field, but he only hit 2 3-pointers. He was 2 of 6 from the three-point line. If someone could fact check me on this, I bet you last year that Chris Bell did not score 10 points in a game where he only made 2 3-pointers. Maybe he did it once or twice, but in this game, most of his damage came from inside the three-point line. He was going to the paint. He was being aggressive. This is a different version of Chris Bell. And he saved the game for Syracuse. Thank goodness, because they really did they avoided embarrassment in this one. It didn't feel like until the very end of the game that Syracuse was actually going to win. I'll tell you the moment where I thought they were going to win, okay? There was 6:31 to go, and Syracuse was down 68-67. Coach Autry calls timeout. They run a nice play. J.J. Starling hits a contested layup. I think he wanted a foul on that. It doesn't get called, but still they hit a layup. And then Lemoyne just has some breakdowns. Lemoyne has back-to-back offensive fouls. It leads to a Jyare Davis layup. It leads to an Eddie Lampkin layup. Finally, Eddie Lampkin using his strength inside. Syracuse is up 5. Jyare Davis comes up with a steal. So that's 3 turnovers effectively for Lemoyne in a row. Lemoyne then travels, make that 4 turnovers in a row essentially. And it all works out to where Syracuse eventually starts to really pull ahead. 78-71 with 3:33 to go. I thought at that point, all right, Syracuse is going to close this out, which they eventually did, but they're going to close it out and they're going to win by like 15 points. It's going to be like one of those games, and we're going to be like, well, found a way to win in the end, but nope. Jyare Davis, we're going to get to a lot of the good that he displayed in the next part of the show, but I thought the decision he made with about 2 minutes left in this game was another turning point in a negative way for Syracuse. They're up 81-74, and with about 20 seconds left in the shot clock, he forces a pass inside to Eddie Lampkin, who's got like 2 or 3 players draped all over him. Of course, it ends up being a turnover. You don't have to do that. That's an unforced error. At the very minimum, when you're up 7 points at the end of a game, you got to bleed down the shot clock. But that was like the only mistake that Jyare Davis made. I wasn't going to put the loss on him. Clearly, I was not going to do that, but he did make a mistake there. Jaquan Carlos misses a free throw, and that's what led Lemoyne having a chance to win the game with 20 seconds left. And oh, by the way, even if Carlos hit both free throws, it would have been a 3-point game. Syracuse 3 times in this game fouled someone shooting a 3-pointer. So who's to say they wouldn't have gotten a 4-point play anyway? But it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, Chris Bell's defense and him knocking down 2 free throws saved the game for Syracuse basketball. It was not pretty from start to finish. They won the game, though. And ultimately, when you look at their record and you wake up tomorrow morning, you'll see that Syracuse basketball is 1-0. So I am conflicted. It's a weird win. It's kind of like when Syracuse football beat Holy Cross. I was like, they didn't play well at all. They won because it was Holy Cross. Kind of like how I feel about this basketball team. Now, coming up, we'll talk about Jyare Davis, who I think we can all agree has earned some more playing time on this team. We'll also talk about Donnie Freeman as well. And then later on, we'll get to the road ahead, and I can dive more deeply into what this win means for Syracuse. So that's coming up next. Hey, Locked On Syracuse fans, it's time to recognize the Roy Player of the Week. So far this season, we've pooled over $20,000 to support players on Roy. Micro deposits lead to massive change with the Roy app. You can direct your support to the athletes you love, ensuring that all funds go to the specific player you choose. Unlike collectives, you know exactly where your support is going, and you even receive exclusive content like personal videos and updates after the season. And the best part, it's risk-free. If the athlete transfers or doesn't deliver the content, you get your money back. And this week, I think it should go to, let's talk about Syracuse football, okay? I think it goes to Justice Ross Simmons. His very first catch of the season is a 55-yard touchdown. He gets another touchdown later on in the fourth quarter that puts Syracuse ahead. He had 3 catches in the game, but 2 of them went for touchdowns. And my goodness, he was the spark plug for that comeback win over Virginia Tech. So let's show Justice Ross Simmons some love and keep him connected to Syracuse. Remember, pay today, celebrate tomorrow. Your support sets your team up for success. And plus, don't miss out on Roy's exciting giveaway. Win 2 tickets to a game in November. Just download Roy, create an account, enter referral code Locked On, and you're entered. Already on Roy, any contribution to an athlete's campaign also gets you entered automatically. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Download Roy now and join the NIL game with no subscriptions and no fees. And be sure to check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Roy_return on you for more info. Roy, support the players, change the game. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. And speaking of Syracuse basketball, well, they were like a 21-point favorite against Moyne. They certainly didn't cover, but at least they won the game, right? Let's talk some Syracuse football for a second. They're a 1.5-point underdog at Boston College. I think the best bet, though, if you think that Syracuse is going to win, I think the best bet in general is just to take their money line at even odds, because if you bet Syracuse to cover 1.5, that's at -110. So meaning, what's the difference there, right? Basically just hope that Boston College doesn't win by a point if they win. Bottom line, right? Anyway, just visit FanDuel.com today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen of the day. And guys, if you really like what you're hearing, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because we're going to talk about Syracuse basketball and Syracuse football as well, as we are in crossover season. That's right, Syracuse basketball and Syracuse football both going at the same time. Basketball, they just hung on in this one, 86-82 over Moyne Dolphins. Thank goodness for Chris Bell's defense. Now let's get into Jyare Davis, who I think is the MVP of the game for Syracuse basketball up until his mistake at the 38-minute mark, really, of this game. Up until that point, best player on the team, wasn't even particularly close. Let's look at the stat sheet real quick for Jyare Davis. First of all, he's coming off the bench. He had 22 points on 7 of 9 shooting, 8 for 11 at the free throw line. Not terrible. It's below 80%, but 8 for 11 is not bad in a long sample, and he played 26 minutes. More importantly, he was on the floor at the end of the game over Donnie Freeman, a move that I agree with Coach Autry on. The thing about Jyare Davis is that he was kind of I'm trying to find a nice way to put this. He admitted it himself that he didn't play particularly well in the exhibition games. He was better in the second one. He actually hit a couple of threes, but he was kind of just there. And I was kind of searching. I was like, this guy was 17-8 over at Delaware. He was 17-8. He was an all-conference player. I know it's Delaware. I get it. But he's a two-time all-conference player there. He was the leader of that team. Kind of invisible in the first exhibition games, right? Oh, he woke up. He woke up almost immediately. The thing about Jyare Davis, he's 6'7", but he might as well be 7'7". He is so strong inside. Now, maybe it's because they're playing Lemoyne, right? What's going to happen when they play against Duke? Like, the tallest player on Lemoyne is 6'9". I checked their roster. But for now, I think we can all look at Jyare Davis and say, man, he is strong inside. He is a menace. Because that's where most of his shots come from. He can hit the mid-range. We saw his passing ability. Later on in the second half, he had a nice pass to Eddie Lampkin as well. But really what makes Jyare Davis effective is him in the interior. He is very strong, very physical, and what he does is he keeps balls alive. So when there's a rebound, he's a very good rebounder. Again, 17-8 over at Delaware last season. He finished with 12 rebounds tonight. He's 6'7". This is not the tallest guy in the world. 12 rebounds. He is looking really good. If you were to do a stock up, stock down, his stock is definitely up. And if Syracuse had somehow lost this game, I was ready to say, look, every player is about to get chewed out except for Jyare Davis. And maybe Petar Majstorovic, because he was pretty good in the limited minutes he had. But he was really good. Jyare Davis, when he is inside, attacking the paint, going for loose balls, going for rebounds, he is highly, highly effective. And I think he can translate that going forward. Now, let's get to Donnie Freeman. 5-star freshman. What did I see from him? Well, he was up and down. I saw someone online try to compare him to Benny Williams. Stop it. Stop. I know he didn't shoot the ball well tonight. He was 3 of 11 from the field. Looked a little shaky at times. But still gave you 10 points and 11 rebounds in 28 minutes. Is his defense great? Nope. Nope, wasn't that good at all. Was not impressed. But I think what we saw from Donnie Freeman tonight, once again, this is a 5-star player. He was in the starting lineup. This is the best Syracuse basketball recruit since Carmelo Anthony, at least ranking-wise. This was the 6th overall player in the country in the class of 2024. Okay, so it's different expectations for a guy like Donnie Freeman. We expect him to be a contributor right away, and I think what we saw from him tonight was his floor. I don't think he had the best game. He was sloppy with the ball, particularly in the beginning. He had a couple of turnovers. But he still gave you 10 points and 11 rebounds in 28 minutes. That's a pretty good floor. I don't think we have seen the best from Donnie Freeman. That's the most optimistic way to look at it. We have not seen the best from him. Did he play super poorly? No. But it was definitely a floor type of game. I would love to see what he does against Colgate. Will we maybe see his ceiling? Maybe he hits a couple of those jumpers. He struggled from outside the paint. He even struggled inside the paint. There were a couple of times where he missed a couple layups. But I don't think we've seen the best from Donnie Freeman. I'm still optimistic that he is going to be a highly, highly effective player for Syracuse basketball. And I hope we can enjoy him because I think he's going to be an NBA player. And I think he's going to be an NBA player next season. So let's enjoy him while we got him, right? So overall, when you look at the front court rotation, Eddie Lampkin had a lot of foul trouble in this game, particularly. Not a lot, but he had foul trouble early in this game, 2 fouls quickly in the first half. We didn't see Naheem McLeod at all. I think that was more of a coach's decision. We'll see what Coach Autry says, if he says anything about it, but that was probably a coach's decision. They're more than capable going with Donnie Freeman and Jyare Davis in the front court. they can do that. And Petar Majstorovic, he can play a little bit too. They're good. They got solid front court depth. Obviously, Chris Bell as well is in that front court too. They're good there. They're fine in the front court. Jyare Davis looks really good. Donnie Freeman, I think we saw his floor. Just wait until we hit it. We see his ceiling when he starts hitting that jumper. For now, I would like him to attack inside, but when he hits that jumper, he gets going, we're in good shape with Donnie Freeman, all right? So we talked about how Cuse survived barely, thanks to Chris Bell. Talked about Jyare Davis and Donnie Freeman and the fact that, hey, at the very end, I mentioned they don't really need to play a true backup center when Eddie Lampkin is not on the floor because they have Jyare Davis and they have Donnie Freeman. Now, coming up, we'll talk about what this game means for Syracuse basketball, what this win does for the Orange going forward. Look, I won't lie. I was a bit on the fence about pre-alcohol originally, but then while hanging out with some friends, I gave it a shot, and believe me, it's the real deal. For the best results, make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Pace yourself, hydrate, and get a good night's sleep. Wake up feeling refreshed and ready to take on the day. Go to ZBiotics.com/LockedOnCollege to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use code LockedOnCollege at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with 100% money-back guarantees, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. Remember to head to ZBiotics.com/LockedOnCollege and use code LockedOnCollege at checkout for 15% off. Once again, Syracuse basketball by the skin of their teeth. They survive against Moyne tonight, 86-82 inside the Dome. We discussed how Chris Bell saved the game. We talked a little bit about the front court with Jyare Davis and his impressive debut for Syracuse. We went over Donnie Freeman and how, look, wasn't his best game, but I think we saw really his floor. Just wait till we see his ceiling. Now, let's get into kind of the significance of this game, or maybe the lack thereof. First of all, a win is a win. A win is a win. The best way to put this win is I'm going to give you guys a golf analogy, and I've used this analogy before. When you are in the bunker in golf, for those that don't know any golf, the bunker is the sand. Okay, it's the sand. You don't want to be in the sand. It's not good. But when you are in the bunker, priority number one, rule number one when you're in the bunker is just get it out. Just get it out of there, right? You're in the bunker, you hit that shot, you're trying to get it, just get it out. That's the best way to describe this game for Syracuse. You're playing against a far inferior team in Moyne. Far inferior. You're a 21-point favorite at home. You should win this game by a lot of points. This should not be close. Number one, though, is, look, you just got to avoid embarrassment. Just win the game. So they got it out of the bunker, right? They won. That's the best way to put it. But in golf, when you get the ball out of the bunker, all right, what's the next thing you want to do? Well, you want to get the ball on the green. You want to get the ball preferably close to the hole so you can hit a putt. And Syracuse did not do either of those things. They barely got the ball out of the bunker, and it was sitting on the rough. Barely, but it counts. They got it out, right? So it's good that they won, but where this hurts them is in the net. Yeah, that's right. The net is back. Hope you missed it. The net's back. That's right. For those that don't know what the net is one of many metrics that bracketologists and the selection committee use to determine who makes the NCAA tournament. It's called the Net Basketball Rankings. You can Google it. It's free and public information. And there's a lot of analytics that go into the formula to decide who gets slotted where in the net. But one of the main things that they use, one of the main categories of it, is your point differential. Not only just your point differential, there is a quad system where this win goes or compares against other teams in the net. And I imagine Lemoyne is not very high in the net. So you get a close win against a team that is really low in the net rankings. It actually can hurt you at times. There was a time last year where Syracuse barely beat Louisville on the road, right? The point differential was low, and they actually dropped a couple of spots in the net the next morning. So this does hurt their net, I think it does at least. A 4-point win at home against Lemoyne, that's not very good. That's not very pretty at all, especially when you look at the rest of the ACC. I'm going to do this live for you right now. Wake Forest is up by 15. They're going to win against Coppin State. Virginia Tech is up 19 against Delaware State. I mean, Boston College isn't supposed to be good anyway, but North Carolina, it's only a 12-point game at the half there. I mean, Duke rolled Maine. Miami blew out FDU. The point being is that when you're playing these inferior teams, you want to make it look pretty. You want to make it look sexy. And there were times that last season, actually it was most of the time for Syracuse basketball, when they won a game, it was by the skin of their teeth. It was kind of like this. No matter who they were playing. They could be playing North Carolina at home and surviving and winning that one, which was awesome. And then the next day they're playing against a nobody, and it's kind of like this. So it's good that they won. It does not help for the NCAA tournament ultimately. It really does not. All they did was avoid embarrassment. That's the best way to put it. Now, for a more optimistic viewpoint, if you're feeling optimistic, here's the deal. This is a pure coincidence. I choose to believe it's not. Syracuse basketball trailed 41-36 at the half in this game. They obviously didn't come out strong, and as the final score indicates, it wasn't very pretty. But they were down 41-36 at the half. The last time that Syracuse basketball was trailing at the half in the season opener was in the 2020-21 season, where Syracuse barely beat Bryant at home, and that was a precursor for 2 years later when they actually lost to Bryant at home. But they barely beat Bryant at home. I think it was 85-84. That game might have gone to overtime, or maybe it was a game that was – it was a wild beginning of the season in 2020, 2021. But in that year, that's the last time that Syracuse basketball made the NCAA tournament. Take that for what it's worth. Maybe the key to making the tournament this season was we got a trail at the half in the season opener against a far inferior opponent. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just grasping at straws because I'm genuinely conflicted about this. I was not impressed. I wasn't. I mean, Jyare Davis was good. I mean, Donnie was up and down. Petar Majstorovic provided some energy. Chris Bell looks more well-rounded on offense. Pretty ho-hum from everyone else. But they won, and you can't take that away from them. So, Syracuse basketball, 86-82 over Lemoyne. Thank goodness the Orange found a way to survive. And thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen today. And for your second listen, check out the Locked On ACC podcast. Alex Dono and Kenton Gibbs, they keep it real. And they bring you the truth about where your favorite ACC's team stands within the conference. We're in basketball season. We're in football season. It's great right now. You got to check out the Locked On ACC channel and Locked On ACC squad episodes you can find on every ACC channel on the network. Find Locked On ACC on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Folks, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. If you like this video, click that like button. If you really liked it, subscribe to the channel. Turn on those notifications so you know right away when I am dropping the next podcast. And don't forget, leave some comments in the comments section below your thoughts on tonight's win by Syracuse basketball. All right, everyone, take care.